Hey, did you know there's a bridge in Kentucky so infamous that locals have spent decades warning people to stay away from it? Not because of the trains, but supposedly because of what lives underneath it. Some say it's part man, part goat. Others claim it can hypnotize people, leaving them frozen on the railroad tracks as the train barrels towards them. Some have even reported hearing strange screams echoing through the darkness below. For generations, the legend has drawn thrill seekers, ghost hunters, and curious teenagers to an aging railroad trestle just outside Louisville, Kentucky. Many came hoping to catch a glimpse of the creature, and tragically, some of them never made it home. This is the story of the Pope Lick Monster. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Hey Did You Know, where we dig up the weird, the forgotten, and the downright strange corners of America. Quick reminder, as always, before we dive in, make sure you hit that like button, the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. We drop new stories every other Wednesday, and don't forget to leave a comment because I love hearing what you think about the episode. Now, let's get into the story. Louisville, Kentucky, best known as the home of the Kentucky Derby, Louisville Slugger baseball bats, and one of the largest cities along the Ohio River. It's a city rich in history, Southern culture, and traditions that attract millions of visitors each year. But just outside the city, near the quiet community of Fisherville, lies a place with a very different reputation. Hidden among these deep woods, an aging railroad trestle stretches high above a small stream known as Pope Lick Creek. Known locally as Pope Lick Trestle, it's a narrow, single-track railroad bridge elevated nearly 90 feet above the creek below. The bridge is still part of an active freight rail line today, with trains crossing it regularly. There are no sidewalks, no guardrails, and once you're committed to crossing it, there are very few places to escape if a train suddenly appears. That alone is enough to make the bridge dangerous. But over the years, it's become known for something far more unsettling than a passing train. According to local legend, something else has been watching from the woods below. The creature has become known as the Pope Lick Monster, a terrifying cryptid often described as part man, part goat, and in some tellings, part sheep. No two descriptions are exactly alike, but nearly every version of the legend paints the same picture. A twisted creature lurking around the trestle, waiting for someone foolish enough to wander onto the tracks. How it claims its victim depends on who's telling the story. Some say the creature can hypnotize trespassers, leaving them frozen on the tracks as an oncoming train barrels towards them. Others claim it mimics the voices of friends or loved ones, luring curious victims farther onto the bridge before it's too late. Other stories are even more terrifying. Some claim the monster carries a blood-stained axe, using it to attack anyone who dares enter its territory. Others say it waits beneath the trestle, watching from the woods before emerging to confront anyone brave, or foolish, enough to cross. There are even tales that simply catching a glimpse of the creature is enough to send someone into such a panic that they leap from the towering bridge themselves. Its origins are just as mysterious. One of the oldest stories claim the creature was once a circus performer with a horrifying appearance, who escaped after a train carrying the circus derailed near the trestle. According to the local legend, it disappeared into the surrounding woods, vowing revenge on anyone who crossed its path. Some versions even tie its story into another local legend, the ghost train, said to haunt the very same stretch of railroads. There's even a tale of a local farmer who practiced dark rituals, sacrificing goats in exchange for supernatural powers before becoming something no longer entirely human. Whether any of these stories contain a grain of truth, no one knows. But for generations, they've been passed from one person to the next, transforming an ordinary railroad bridge into one of Kentucky's most enduring legends. As the years went on, the Pope Lick Monster became more than a local campfire story. Tales of the creature spread through neighborhoods and schools across Kentucky. Long before social media, the legend had already taken on a life of its own. By the late 1980s, the story had become so well known that it inspired a short independent film called The Legend of the Pope Lick Monster, which was released in 1988 by a Louisville filmmaker. Much of the movie was filmed around the actual Pope Lake Trestle, although scenes showing actors on the bridge itself were shot in a safer location. Not everyone, though, was excited about the film. Railroad officials worried it would encourage teenagers and thrill-seekers alike to visit the trestle themselves. One scene in particular showed a character surviving an oncoming train by hanging from the side of the trestle. In reality, officials warned that attempting something like that would almost be certainly fatal. Freight trains can take several minutes to cross the trestle, and the force and vibration from the passing train make hanging beneath the bridge nearly impossible. They were so concerned that Norfolk Southern issued a public safety statement at the film's premiere, reminding audiences that the trestle was private property and trespassing was illegal, and that the bridge was far more dangerous than anything portrayed on screen. As the internet arrived, in years that followed, the Pope Lake Monster reached an even wider audience. It appeared in books, documentaries, television shows, podcasts, and even in a trading card game called MetaZoo Cryptid Nation. What had once been a local Kentucky legend had become part of American folklore. But that growing popularity came with an unintended consequence. More and more people wanted to see the bridge themselves. Unfortunately for some, curiosity turned into tragedy. The Pope Lake Monster has never been proven to exist. Despite decades of stories, there has never been any verified evidence that a creature haunts the bridge. The danger, however, has always been very real. As more people began visiting the trestle in search of the legend, the number of tragic incidents began to grow. One of the earliest widely reported incidents occurred in 1988, when 17-year-old Jack J.C. Charles Baum II was struck and killed by a train while attempting to cross the trestle. Another teenager with him happened to survive. In 1994, a man lost his life after his ATV overturned on the bridge, trapping him on the tracks before an approaching train reached him. Then, in 2000, a 19-year-old man fell nearly 90 feet to his death while trying to escape the oncoming train. The legend once again made national headlines in 2016 when 26-year-old Roquel Bain, who had traveled from Ohio to search for the Pope Lake Monster, was struck and killed by the train. And 3 years later, in 2019, 15-year-old Savannah Bright was killed after she and another teenager were walking near the trestle. Her friend survived with injuries. Each of these tragedies served as another heartbreaking reminder that the real danger at Pope Lake was never the monster hiding underneath the bridge. It was an active railroad trestle with almost nowhere to run when a train approached. Today, warning signs, fences, and repeated messages from law enforcement continue to discourage people from trespassing at the bridge. Because whether you believe in Pope Lake Monster or not, the danger has always been real. The Pope Lake Monster remains one of America's most enduring urban legends. Whether it's a creature lurking beneath an old railroad trestle, or simply a story that's grown with each generation, one thing is certain: the legend has become a permanent part of Kentucky folklore. Before we end this episode, I want to ask you a question, just like I do in every episode. Do you think legends like the Pope Lake Monster are created to explain the unexplained? Or do they begin as simple warnings that grow into something much bigger? Maybe years ago, a parent told their child there was a monster living beneath the bridge, not because they believed it, but because they wanted to keep them away from a place that they knew was dangerous. But over time, that warning became a legend, and that legend ended up drawing far more people to the bridge than it kept away. What do you think? And does your hometown have a local legend that everyone seems to know? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this episode, and if you enjoyed it, please share it with a friend. And don't forget to follow, because you're not going to want to miss the next one. Because next time, we're heading back to New England, where a centuries-old coffin labeled only JB55 gave archaeologists one of the clearest glimpses yet into the real history behind America's vampire panic. What they found inside helped separate folklore from fact, and revealed that the fear of vampires was far more real than people ever imagined. Until next time, thank you for listening.